Hello, people of the internet. This is Kaiju Noir
And Pete.
and we're here for another review. This time we're going to be talking about the recently released biopic, Straight Outta Compton, which is the film about the careers of Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, and Eazy-E, how they all came together as friends living in Compton, forming the rap group N.W.A, and pretty much kind of like inventing like the genre of Gangsta Rap, which was this big, incredibly influential music group that led to, that led to other talented individuals such as Tupac Shakur, Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent, Eminem, and a whole bunch of other artists, inspired by them or, were helped out by these artists, and kind of still has a big, I guess you could say has a big influence overall in terms of like the rap genre today. So, just want to say, how well versed are you in the rap genre, Pete?
Absolutely not at all. Like, not like in I think we talked about this ourselves before, but in this movie, I could only recognize two themes or tracks, and even I couldn't tell you the name of them.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how bad I was. How about you?
Even though I'm very open to a lot of different genres when it comes to music, my personal preference being towards mostly rock and jazz. Rap has been one of those genres that's never really, captivated me as all that much. I mean, it's not like I hate it per se, but just I've always had like always felt indifferent to it.
Well, my parents were traditional Mexicans, so we never really got into that gangster rap.
Funny enough, like, due to like the family friends, I would always be exposed to that type of music, whether I wanted to or not. And a lot of the music that I heard in this film, I recognized because, like, I kind of grew up with that music, listening to them from, my friends, family friends, that sort of deal. So, even though this was something that I generally had not a lot of interest in terms of like the genre, it is something that I did grow up with, and with it being such this film focuses on the careers of these individuals from, I believe, 1988 to roughly 1993. So there's that very early year where this group was very active right before you and I were born. And so, but even then, their influence was still like, we kind of experienced the aftermath of what they did in the wake of like the big emergence of rap during the 90s and the big controversy about, it's going to affect our children. The moment where like people were very trying to get incredibly PC over entertainment and its effect.
Yeah, it's like it's that point where we play the blame game from one thing to another, and it just happened to be rap music. Yeah,
and then violent television programs like Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, that sort of stuff. You didn't know about this movie before going in, right? It was actually me that was like, "Hey, let's see this movie."
Well, I knew about it because we had seen trailers for it, and I had heard people talk about it before, but I actually had no real interest in seeing it until you mentioned it, and I was like, "All right, I'd be down for this," because I find like documentary, what would you call it?
A biopic.
Biopics like these, they can be genuinely kind of interesting. So I mean, yeah, I was all down for it. Like obviously. It's a little different, but I can't wait for Console Wars because that itself is somewhat of a biopic itself.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I first heard, even though we've seen like advertisements for this movie like for a while now, what really got me interested in this movie was seeing the trailer when I was in Chicago with Zazabar and Super DM64 and Adam Noyce. We were attending G-Fest, and Dylan and Bill, Zazabar and Super DM64, all three of us went to the theater to see Terminator Genesis, and that's where we saw the trailer to Straight Outta Compton. I was like, you know what? Even though I couldn't give less of a damn about the rap, the trailer itself enticed me. Like the idea of these people like rising, kind of like this rising against this depression, rising against all odds to kind of in a way stick it to the man and trying to like tell the world just what they've been, use their anger and frustrations with life and turning it into art and having to deal with the backlash against them. That really interested me. And that's what led me to wanting to see the movie.
Not just that, but obviously we know what rap is today. It kind of like makes you want to learn the roots of it, really, or go back to see, how this all began. So of course it's interesting if you like first. Like I said, at first I didn't want to watch it, but after you saying, hey, let's go watch it, I'm like, all right, the idea of it just grew on me. So like, sure.
Mm-hmm. And it's really funny because like rap didn't really start with N.W.A. I mean, you can say like kind of
gangster rap is what we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, back then it was like this. I'm pretty sure like kind of rap music you would have back in like say the 70s where you had the Sugar Hill Gang. Like I said, the hip hop, the hippie to the hip hip hobby. Don't stop the drum to the bang bang boogie, up drum the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat. I know I got some lyrics wrong in there, but yeah, this is like more of that as they refer to like that hard shit.
Yeah, there you go.
It involves cursing and talking about like trying to get real, not all about hey life is good. It's just like hey, life sucks, and here's how badass we are because of how we deal with this shit.
And of course, obviously they had their own inspirations too.
Yeah, definitely. So we have, even though the movie is about like the creation and the rise and somewhat of a rise and fall story with N.W.A. It mostly focused on three of its particular members, those being like Ice Cube, who in this film is played by his real-life son, O'Shea Jackson Jr. We have Dr. Dre, portrayed by Corey Hawkins, and Eazy-E, played by Jason Mitchell. And then, so everyone else, and particularly DJ Yella and MC Ren, they're kind of like background characters, really.
I couldn't care less about them. I'm like, this story focused.
On that trio, where you have Dr. Dre. He is the DJ of this nightclub. He really knows his way around music and mixing these tracks into these badass tunes. You have Ice Cube. He's kind of like the poet. He's what do you call it? Lyricist. But he basically comes up with the rhymes. He's like the writer of the group. And then you have Eazy-E, who is
money.
He's the money. He's the businessman. He is the real life gangster who was involved with drug dealings. At the very beginning of the movie, it starts off right away with a drug deal that goes horribly wrong with the intervention of the police. You can just see how Eazy-E, he's just kind of like prepared for these types of situations, and so he's kind of tired of this life. He wants to move on from this, and Dr. Dre is like, hey man, let's just with your money, let's start a business together. Let's start a record label. So they form Ruthless Records, and so the three of them, plus, two of their associates, they kind of form together to form this kind of like, as some other reviewers have mentioned, this like Avengers of rap, of rap artists. And after their first hit, they are approached by, what's his name, Jerry Heller, portraying this movie by Paul Giamatti, who's an actor I really enjoy, by the way. Mm-hmm. And he immediately gets in contact with them. He's like, hey, I can open up doors for you. Without me, no one will give you a chance. And so from then on out, their popularity rises skyrockets because they're the first people to talk about like real life problems in terms of like how people are treated, police brutality, racial profiling. The gangster life. They kind of became the voice of a generation, and as their fame continues to rise, the Ice Cube and Dr. Dre start to notice some shady dealings going on between like Jerry Heller and Eazy-E. So eventually they broke up, and the movie also for the second half of the film, the movie focuses on what happens on their individual careers. Mm-hmm. So I gotta say, Pete, initial thoughts on this movie.
Oh man, when it ended, I was just stuck in my chair, just like mm-hmm. absorbing the awesome. This movie was freaking fantastic, man. Mm-hmm. I just from the story to the characters to like just knowing. So the fact that obviously we all know who Ice Cube is. Yeah. But I never knew he was that big or that influential at the time.
Mm-hmm, right. So we kind of the way we grew up with him, like when we were growing up with the lifestyles that you and I were living, we didn't really knew him until he got into movies.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. Yeah. So, and I'm just like, damn, like I never knew. So it was mm-hmm. just it was like a great learning experience. It was there was just so much to absorb and mm-hmm. just fucking I love this movie. It's so good.
Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, this movie could not have come out at a better time. I feel like the themes that are portrayed in this movie are more relevant now than they've ever been, especially with like recent incidents such as like the Trayvon Martin incident, the Ferguson incident, like the whole
Michael Brown,
the whole debate as to whether or not cops should be having, cameras on their uniforms so that we know what they're doing the entire time. It kind of feel like it all started from this, where back then you did not. This movie does a great job at showing just how fucked up the police were during this time in LA, where the cops, they couldn't give less of a shit about people living in in places in low income, very what do you call them, lower class neighborhoods, where gang violence tends to be high, and the war on drugs was again trying to be heavily enforced. And so the cops, they do show a good job at just what a bunch of assholes these cops are, and how they're willing to pat you down and treat you like a criminal just for standing on a sidewalk.
Oh yeah, and it's obviously just racial profiling, really, is what it mostly was.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you look like a dangerous person, so we're going to treat you like a dangerous person. And so back then, stuff like YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, social media, cell phones, none of that existed back then. So we weren't able to capture their behavior on screen until the Rodney King trial occurred, which also plays a great part in this movie, as the events are shown alongside the N.W.A. activities. But here it was like here's a chance for these people who have taken their anger and turned it into art, and are able to kind of expose what goes on with the police, and kind of has that kind of rebellious, fuck establishment, fuck the police. That's a phrase I've definitely heard before. Now we know where that came from. And it's kind of like that sort of anti-authority type of attitude that really has struck a chord with the pop culture zeitgeist of the 90s that soon followed after these guys' careers. And it's really great to know where all this came from and how it affects us still to this very day.
No, yeah, I completely agree. So, what did you think about the lead three, or the main three characters? Yeah. What did you gather from them?
I really enjoy these characters. I mean, they had a lot of personality, a lot of charisma. The chemistry shared between these three actors was
all
amazing.
Worked so great.
Great together.
They all felt like they were literally brothers.
Yeah.
It felt like they had an actual family or communion of people working together. That's what it felt like.
Yeah. They had this you mentioned this brotherhood, this camaraderie, the sense of trust within in each other, and you kind of can't help but feel really bad for them once they start to go their separate ways. And by the time these old wounds are healed, you can't just help. There's that sense of positivity that flows through you.
Yeah, it's like, hey, it's also a sense of nostalgia. We're going back to the way things were. We have a chance to do things the way they used to be.
Yeah. I mean, they show you see them and how much fun they're enjoying life, and how they're enjoying working together and just being together, producing this music. And when they talk about hey, let's try to do that again, it's just you feel what they feel as well.
And honestly, it feels like we're actually seeing the artists and not the actors.
Yeah.
And it just does that job so well. It's not like Van Forstic where I am clearly seeing actors. No,
yeah.
I am seeing real live people.
Yeah, people, they feel so natural.
Yeah.
I gotta give it props to O'Shea Jackson Jr. for portraying his father.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's he's lucky enough to actually. It's one thing to actually look like your father, but to actually imitate him, and
he has the same scowls and everything, the same expressions. It's hilarious.
Yeah. I like how we get a lot of different sides to their personalities. We just although I guess one of the criticisms I do have to say is that obviously this movie was produced by both Dr. Dre and Ice Cube, and so it seems like Eazy-E is the person who has the most
character flaws.
Yeah. The most noticeable character flaws, because I've been doing a little bit of research with in terms of the careers of these people, and I know that especially Dr. Dre has gone into some serious problems in terms of what is it called, domestic abuse with his significant others in the past. which doesn't get touched on here. And I know that there are scenes...
Many kids, apparently, too.
Yeah. And the whole relation... Oh, I'll get to that part later, but... I think I've also researched that like the initial script for this movie was like 150 pages long, which would have led to a 3.5 hour film. So obviously a lot of things were cut out of the film, and it looks like a lot of stuff that would have portrayed Ice Cube and Dr. Dre in a bad light were removed. So they kind of were able to like exercise a lot of their a lot of their bad history, their dirty laundry out of the movie. So Eazy-E's kind of like has this more villainous side to him as Jerry Heller tries to convince Eazy-E to like team up with them, so that like very early on, Jerry, their manager, portrayed by Paul Giamatti, who also does a great job in this movie, he kind of quickly takes Eazy-E under his wing and says, "Hey, don't worry, I'll take care of you. I'll make sure you get more money than everyone else, and they won't even notice because we'll just guilt them into signing their contracts because like, hey, without me you'd be nothing." They try to do that whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's almost kind of like a Darth Vader, Emperor Palpatine sort of situation here, where it's like, one guy's obviously kind of influencing the other person, kind of making it worse for everyone else.
Again, their chemistry is fantastic. Just seeing that relationship of just like, someone who knows more of the business, just being so easy and willing to take, to abuse that person and abuse the rest of the group. And it's so funny how he comes off as, as somewhat caring, but at the same time so two-faced at the same time.
Yeah, he's not completely 100% evil. He does have good intentions. He's like, hey, you guys have talent. I want you to make the most out of it. And he really sticks up for those people, for N.W.A. when they come under heavy fire, like such as that scene where all of them walk out of their recording building. They immediately get taken, get treated like treated very hostile by the police, and he kind of stands up for them and he's like, hey, these are artists, you can't treat them this way just because they're black. So we do get multiple sides to him, and even like towards the very end where his shady dealings have been exposed, Jerry's like, hey man, I'm not the first person to do this sort of thing. This is kind of like generally how business goes. I did not invent it this way. If I'm really a criminal, why haven't I been arrested yet? Or sued, yeah. Because he still works within like the legal boundaries, so it's not completely black and white. The other problem I had with the movie, outside of like the whole like dirty laundry being like kind of swept to the back, like swept under the rug, is that this movie definitely covers like quite a large period of time. And by I know I've seen other people complain how the second half is not as good as the first act, or is not as strong as the first half.
That's when we're saying they're after N.W.A, right?
Yeah. When Dr. Dre and Ice Cube go have their separate careers. It's at this point where the movie kind of splits its narrative and tries to focus on each character separately, trying to give Dr. Dre, Eazy-E, and Ice Cube as much equal amount of screen time in terms of what's going on in each of their lives. And this does make the narrative a little bit disjointed, especially as we move ahead from year to have these large time skips where there are certain points where, let's say, Dr. Dre, he has like a girlfriend now, or Ice Cube, he has kids now. I'm like, wait, when did this happen? Or like Eazy-E, he has a significant other who happens to know a thing or two about the business. I'm like, when did he meet her?
Yeah.
So it's this time skip is kind of like a bit sporadic, and it kind of each character now has a new status quo that you have to adjust to now. Although I suppose it was kind of in this problem was inevitable if they were going the whole let's focus on three individuals living three different lives over a span of time.
And again, like you said, I'm assuming a lot had to have been cut out. I mean, you said like the movie was originally going to be about
3.5 hours.
Yeah, and so well, I don't think the movie would have been better for being 3.5 hours. That could have given the chance to flesh itself out a little bit more for each characters. Though I will say, I think Ice Cube got a lot of attention pretty soon after he left the group.
We
really got a lot of him. I love like the quick rivalry they suddenly made with him and N.W.A.
And I love the editing as well, where he's recording the song, and at the same time you hear the song continue on the radio, and you're switching back and forth between these two moments in time, which work very well with each other. With, you see Ice Cube, he's upset, he's dissing his former teammates and criticizing Jerry for breaking him up. And you hear that song, you hear him and all that rage going, or in that all that passion going into that song, and as a result, you see the N.W.A.'s reaction to that song.
I think he was my favorite character out of the bunch, because I just feel like just the stuff he says, it's just so strong and so influential. It's I think he was my favorite of the group. I will say that.
I think it was him that also spouted the best line, not the best line, but it was a line in particular that got like a big reaction out of the audience, where it was like, I think Dr. Dre was like, "Hey man, if it wasn't for Jerry, we wouldn't have this. We wouldn't be where we are today." And then Ice Cube says, "We didn't make it because of Jerry. We made it because our shit is dope." And the audience, there were like 3 people who were like, "Yeah, that's right."
Yeah.
By the way, watching this movie with an audience, with a rather large audience, is a lot of fun, because again, this is something that I think a movie that a lot of people can relate to, or a lot of people are very, very invested in, because again, this is very relatively recent history, so a lot of people do remember the N.W.A. during their prime, and are more than excited whenever they hear a song that they recognize, or they see
a familiar face.
A familiar face. By the way, the guy who plays Tupac, it was almost like he came back from the dead. I know other people have said that again, but I gotta agree with them. Yeah. It was like, holy shit. They like went back in time with a DeLorean and like took young Tupac to give him a cameo here.
No, I think they just improved on the hologram technology.
Oh yeah, okay. So we had young Tupac portrayed by hologram technology. What was this world coming to?
Yeah, and it's funny because he looked just so spot on. The guy that chose to portray Snoop Dogg looked
not so much. Yeah. Not so much. One more person character I do have to talk about, would like to talk about a little bit, is Suge Knight.
Oh.
Talk about a person with many faces.
Oh my god, I remember seeing him super early on, asking him to be a bodyguard. I didn't think too much of him.
Yeah, he's like, hey man, you did a great job out there. If you need any help, just call me. Trust me, I think you'll be needing my help. And then he's kind of sticking out for Dr. Dre, and he's like, hey, listen, man, this whole situation with Jerry, this is not a good idea. You should probably leave. We'll start a business together, and don't worry, I'll take care of your contracts.
Oh, and he does take care of his contracts, doesn't he?
Yeah, this is a scary motherfucker.
Oh, God.
Very violent. He's like... It kind of like, even though Dr. Dre attempts to leave this, like, the Compton life, it's like he kind of brings a little bit with him in terms of, like, still surrounding himself around shady people with very, like, kind of like criminal backgrounds.
Well, and I guess that's ultimately what the problem was. I mean, he had finally escaped his past, and
yeah, it kind of comes back to haunt him a little in a way.
With Suge Knight. Yeah, I mean, Suge Knight, he's basically, he's still... He makes shit so bad. Just everything's about violence and just everything the way he wants it. He's so intimidating. It's ridiculous.
And I like doing a little research on Suge Knight. It's like the shit that he's gotten himself into in terms of like legal shit, and like what eventually happened to Death Row Records. It's like, you kind of had it coming.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, I've seen like some theories now where it's like some people have been saying that Suge Knight had a hand in either like the murders of either Tupac or Biggie Smalls. I'm like, I can see why people would think that way looking at this movie, at this portrayal of him. So yeah, he was very intimidating character, and really interesting. Very sorry about that.
That is so obnoxious.
I have no idea why your door is open right now, along with the window.
Well, the window's closed. It's just the curtains are open.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. I think there's without spoiling, we should probably go into final thoughts about now, since we are past the 20-minute mark.
Okay, honestly, it was a great movie. I had to go watch it again.
Mm-hmm. Funny enough, I've seen it 3 times with 3 different groups of people.
I honestly would love to see at least once or twice more. Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of stuff I might have missed my first viewing.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen it with your girlfriend yet?
I haven't, no.
You probably should.
But I just feel like there's so much stuff I would pick up on now that I might have missed the first time. Yeah, it's a great movie. I totally recommend going out to watch it. As for a rating, I'm trying to think, like, compare it to other, like, movies that we've seen in this style, but there really isn't. I haven't seen a movie like this in quite a long time.
Yeah, it's been. I don't think we've ever reviewed like a biopic, or maybe if not a biopic, like a music-based biopic.
Yeah,
it's a very interesting genre that we haven't really covered before yet on this channel.
Yeah, I mean, so honestly, as of right now, I mean, again, I'd love to watch it again, but for now, the only thing I could say is it's a really great movie, and I can go watch it. It's definitely one of the better movies I've seen this year.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. But man, I kind of want to give it a rating, but at the same time, I don't, because I don't know exactly how to rate this movie. That's the problem. So
all right. Well, I'm definitely going to give this movie a 4 out of 5. Really solid piece of very informative and entertaining. A very informative and entertaining look at the lives of these very interesting people with and very influential, interesting and very influential people. Even if you don't care about rap, like someone like me and
that's what I'm starting to know.
Yeah, that's what does a great. That's what a movie that you can tell a movie does a great job when it gets you interested in a subject matter that you're not normally interested in the first place.
Exactly. I was so invested in just in the characters and the people.
And I gotta say, even though me not being a big rap guy, I like the music that was in this movie. And I know, who knows? Maybe I may check a little bit into like the back catalog of N.W.A.
Me not so much. Again, right. For me, it was just literally the people, the story.
Yeah.
Fantastic storytelling. It was fantastic.
Definitely. So yeah, those are our very strong recommendations for Straight Outta Compton. Oh, by the way, I just want to know, what's your opinion on like the recent meme, Straight Out of insert meme here?
I haven't seen that meme yet.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't been on.
Okay, it's been all, especially on Facebook. It's been all over where it's like for Godzilla Straight Out of Toho, or
I haven't been
Power
on
Rangers Straight Out of Angel Grove.
No, I've seen nothing of that. Yeah. That's hilarious.
Fantastic Four Straight Out of the Trash.
Yeah, thank you.
Or as I like to say, Straight Out of Ideas.
There you go. So, I like it. I just got that right now.
Yeah. So those are our thoughts on Straight Outta Compton. We hope you've enjoyed our review. So until next time, everybody, I've been Kaiju Noir.
And Pete.
Take care.